Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to look at the last Planeswalker deck from Core Set 2021, and actually the last Planeswalker deck in this whole series, which is Garruk Savage Herald, which is a mono-green deck. Let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 26 creatures, 5 instants, 2 enchantments, 1 sorcery, 25 land, and of course a single Planeswalker, which is Garruk, and then we've got a mana curve off to the side there. So let's dive in and start looking at the cards here. So, Garruk himself, 4 and double green for 5 loyalty, which is standard. Right, so his abilities, +1 to reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand, otherwise put it onto the bottom of your library. This, okay, I suppose. It's obviously just worse than a straight up just like draw a card, obviously, but then that wouldn't be very green. Yeah, that's okay. You've obviously got like quite a lot of creatures in the deck, so most of the time this is just going to hit a creature, or at the very least it's going to filter out a card that you don't want, so you can actually then maybe draw into a creature next turn. It's okay. -2 to make target creature you control deal damage equal to its power to another target creature, so it's a one-sided fight effect. So yeah, this is perfectly fine. It's basically one of the few bits of removal you've actually got in the deck. And then -7. It's actually nice it's -7 because it's not, doesn't take super long to reach it. Until end of turn, creature you control gain. You may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So it gives all your creatures essentially super trample. It's kind of green's equivalent of making them unblockable, I suppose. Yeah, so all these abilities, they're very straightforward. They're fine. I feel like we've actually seen all of these in some way across like the green planeswalkers in this season. Like none of these abilities feel incredibly new to me. So they're basically all just fine, aren't they? They're very serviceable. Right, and then his signature cards. So his searcher is 2 Garruk's Warsteed, 3 in double green for 3/5 vigilance, and ends the battlefield. Search a library or graveyard for Garruk, Savage Herald, blah blah blah, the usual thing. This is alright. I really, really wish it had 1 less toughness and 1 more power, just because there is a big theme in this deck of things having power 4 or more. So it would have been really, really helpful for this to have power 4 rather than power 3 as it does now. It's still okay. Like it's a 3/5 the vigilance. It still does the search. It's okay, but like one tiny change would have made it so much better. We've got 3 Predatory Worm, 3 in a green for a 4/4 with Vigilance, which is, actually pretty okay, and it gets +2/+2 as long as you control a Garruk Planeswalker. One of the better Planeswalker buddies, which is kind of depressing to say that like just a 4/4 with Vigilance for 4 is pretty good. It is though, because it's not like it relies on the its companion planeswalker to actually do something. It's still sort of okay on its own, which is I think is like the minimum bar to meet for these planeswalker buddies. This is the last one we're going to talk about, and I'm really glad of that because throughout this whole series I've really hated these planeswalker buddies. They really dragged everything down, I feel. But yeah, this one's actually okay. I still don't think it should be uncommon, but it is what it is. And then 4 Wildwood Patrol, 2 in a green for a 4/2 with Trample, which actually is not too terrible for 3 mana. Actually, like a 4/2 Trample. Again, I sort of said this last time, I think, in the Chandra deck and the Liliana deck. It's just these M21 decks. It's the uncommon planeswalker buddies, which are kind of bad, and it's the 4 of unique commons, which are actually pretty solid. Yeah, so these are all okay. Signature cards. Alright, move on to the rest of the cards in the deck. So one of the rares of the deck is Garruk's Harbinger, 1 in double green for a 4/3 with hexproof from black. So 3 mana for this stat line is actually pretty good. And its ability is whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may reveal a creature card or a Garruk planeswalker card from amongst them, put it into your hand, put the rest on your bottom of your library in any order, in a random order. This is actually, I think, pretty great for like 3 mana. It's interesting that this is pretty much the only card in these M21 decks that has like it's like an extra synergy card with like planeswalkers and stuff. Like none of the other decks, as far as I remember, have like like a rare creature like this that when it does something that specifically interacts with a particular planeswalker type. So this is, I think, pretty good. I say even if it didn't have searching out Garruk, I think like 3 mana for a 4/3 with hexproof from black, so it dodges like the wide range of removal. This kind of like as it hits someone, it doesn't have trample obviously, but like then I think it would be too good. If it gets in and hits someone, then you look at the top 4 and get to choose something out of that. I think that's actually pretty good. So yeah, that is a solid rare to include, I think. And they've got 3 Drowsing Pteranodons, so 1 green for 3/3 with Defender. As long as you control a creature with power 4 or greater, Drowsing Pteranodon can attack as though it didn't have Defender. So this is kind of like a theme of the deck, is like a lot of things care about having power 4 or greater. And we'll see how, kind of like the Chandra deck we looked at last time, like how I think it's like a solid theme, but I'm not sure if the deck is pulling off that well personally. As is, this is just very boring, I think, isn't it? Just like it's a slightly undercosted 3/3, and a small hoop to jump through to make sure it can attack. There are ways of there are a few like +1/+1 counter effects in the deck from what I remember, so it counts itself as well. So if you can give it like a +1/+1 counter, then it can attack, and then it's a 4/4 that you had to put a tiny bit of effort into. It's okay. We've got 2 Ornery Dilophosaurs, 3 in a green for a 2/2 with Death Touch. Whenever it attacks, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it gets +4, gets +2/+2 to turn, becoming a 4/4. Yeah, again, this is okay. As it is, like 4 mana for a 2/2 with Death Touch is obviously like that's a little bit overcosted. But with the potential of being a 4/4 with Death Touch when it attacks, then for 4. Again, I feel that's kind of just like okay for green. I know it's like a common, but like I feel like 4 mana for a 4/4 with Death Touch in green should be sort of the standard anyway. It doesn't feel like you're getting like too good a deal off this. I suppose I don't know. It's because it's only on the attack as well. It's still fine, I think, as a common, but like again, it's this power 4 or greater theme that I'm not sure like the payoffs actually are really that great. And then we've got a few more here. So Elysian Carotid, 1 in a green is a 1/1. This is from Theros Beyond Death. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour, which is good. Have a little bit of ramp, but you've only got 2 of them in the deck. But if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you add 2 mana of any 1 colour instead. So it helps you ramp up more if you have a big creature out. The kind of like paradox being that like if you've managed to got like a creature with power 4 or greater out, you might be in a position where like having that extra mana might not be as useful, I suppose, if you sort of see what I mean. It's still okay though, isn't it? It's still okay as a mana dork. And then we've got 3 Nessian Horn Beetles, 1 in the green for a 2/2. So it's bear stats at the very least. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control another creature with power 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on Nessian Horn Beetle. See what I mean? There's just so many like power 4 or greater like triggers in the deck. But yeah, this is all right. It's a 2/2 that can like grow on its own with no like real mana investment. I suppose it's fine. And then we have 3 Almighty Brushwag, 1 green mana for a 1/1. Just gonna say, Brushwags are, in my opinion, they're the green equivalent of Fibblethip, like the most overbeamed character ever. Like, I just don't. Okay, if you like Brushwags, that's fine, but I don't see the appeal. But I respect your choices. So 1 green mana for 1/1 with Trample, which is, I mean, that's always funny, isn't it? Though, just have a 1/1 with Trample. It has the inbuilt ability 3 in the green to give it +3/+3 turn. So it can become power 4 or greater, which then turns on all your things that care about power 4 or greater. So it's nice, at least you got 3 of these, and the way of kind of getting sort of like we have power 4 at home essentially. But yeah, it's okay, and obviously having inbuilt Trample is pretty good. And if you obviously like ramp up into it and you've got a load of mana, it's a good mana sink, I suppose. It's okay. And then we've got 3 Pride Malkins, 2 in a green for a 2/1. When it ends the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So this is something you could put on the Drowsing Pteranodon. Actually, you could do it like the turn after, and you could curve into this, and then the Pteranodon can attack. Every creature you control, the +1/+1 counter on it has Trample. Now, you don't have a lot of ways in the deck of putting +1/+1 counters on things. You've got the Horn Beetle and the Pride Malkin, and I think that's about it, honestly. So those are the only things that that are going to benefit from it. It's still okay having 3 of them. Again, that +1/+1 counter can be a way of like you finding a way of like triggering power 4 or greater on your creatures. It's okay. It's okay. Which is, I mean, that's just this deck, isn't it? It's just okay. And then 2 Garruk's Uprising, moving into non-creature spells now. So Garruk's Uprising is 2 in a green. When it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you draw a card. All your creatures have Trample, and whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So it's doing a lot, I feel. Gives me sort of like reminds me of the Garruk's Pack Leader, all the way back from I think like M12 or M13, which was you got the card draw of every power 3 or greater creature. But this also is giving everything Trample as well. It's only 3 mana. And yeah, you potentially draw like a few cards of it, but this is you don't have a huge number of things with power 4 in the deck. Like you've got the you've got the worm, you've got the centaur scout, and the Garruk's harbinger. So really, you've only got 8 creature cards with power 4 or more, which is not wonderful considering how much. I guess what I'm sort of drilling down is that there seem to be a lot of things that care about you having power 4 or greater, but like not a lot of things with actual power 4 or greater. Like you've almost got like this kind of skewed ratio of you not having maybe enough ways to trigger these effects. Maybe that's just how it feels to me. Like maybe it would have played okay, but like that's how it feels to me looking at it on paper. We've got 2 ram through, which is from Ikoria. So 1 in a green instant, target creature you control does damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control, which is lovely. We always love a one-sided fight effect. If the creature you control has trample, excess damage is dealt to the creature's control instead. This is really, really nice. I really like that it's somehow like I'm liking this kind of thing these days of using excess damage on like burn spells and stuff, and like essentially giving like spells trample. I really like it. You see it obviously in mostly in red cards and red burn spells, but here as well in this green one where it really feels like you've got the trample effect, like even though it's like a fight effect. I think it's really fun design. Again, like you've got a few things in the deck that have trample or care about trample. Obviously, you've got Garruk's Uprising, which gives everything trample. Pride Malkin gives certain things trample. So yeah, there's a few things in here to like make it, that you can get that payoff. So you got all the Wildwood Scouts; they had trample as well, which is actually so yeah, enough things I think for ram through to you could get that extra effect fairly reliably. And then we've got 3 Titanic Growth, classic Titanic Growth, 1 in the green, type creature gets +4/+4 until turn. Sure, having 3 of them is quite nice. And then the other round deck is Primal Might, X in the green, type creature you control gets +X/+X till turn, and then it fights a target creature you don't control. So nice, great big buff spell, and also potentially a kill spell as well. So yeah, this is okay, I think, as an extra rare. And then 25 land. So yeah, I'm going to turn it over to you again for like what could have been here. Personally, I think the deck just needed maybe more creatures with like power 4 or greater. Like, didn't have to be wonderful. Like, I mean, it could have been just literally power 4 on the nose. But like, I hope you get what I mean. Like, it feels like there's too many effects that care about having power 4 or greater, and like not enough things actually with power 4 or greater, or not enough ways to. There's a few ways of cheating it. Obviously, like Pride Malkin or the Brushwag maybe, or maybe Titanic Growth for a turn. But like, I just feel like it needed a bit more meat in here. Like actual a few more beefier creatures, but then I don't know if that would have messed maybe around with the mana curve or something, because obviously they would have been more expensive. So I'd love to hear what you think about what cards could have been taken from like Eldraine or Theros or Ikoria and added to this deck to maybe make it a little better, smooth out things a little more and make those synergies pop a little bit more. So yeah, overall I think it's okay. I feel like it's like the Chandra one as well, where I don't know. It feel like it's a okay idea, but like it's not being executed particularly well. But like the bones of it are basically okay, which is kind of I think how I feel about all the these M21 decks, that they're basically okay. I think the M21s were a lot better, but like these are okay. They're still fine. And again, they're introductory products, so I'd say usually the power level is a bit lower than normal, but I don't know if that criticism applies here because it is using cards from other sets, but like it's basically fine, isn't it? Like, and Garruk himself is not too interesting. It's just a big green smashy deck, isn't it? But I'd like to know what you think. Obviously, if you've got any thoughts or stories or comments, opinions about the deck or any of the cards in it, stick a comment below and I'll give those a read. But we are now done with M21 Planeswalker decks, and we are now done with Planeswalker decks as a whole, which seems to have come around a lot quicker than I thought. Yeah, so they're now done, and that is actually really kind of the end of 60 card pre-constructed products. So it's actually really because after this it's now just because the set after this was Zendikar Rising, and they were just like, oh, we're just going to do Commander for everything now. So this now is the period in time where Commander precons are now the standard precons, unless you want to start looking at like Challenger decks and stuff. So yeah, there we go. We're going to end this whole era of 60 card pre-constructed products on Garruk Savage Herald, and it's It's a little anticlimactic, if I'm honest. Well, in the next video, I'm going to do my usual season finale where I look at the sort of like the top and bottom decks of the series and sort of like just discuss where we're going to go from here on out. So I hope you join me for that one. But in the meantime, thank you for watching and listening, and have a fantastic day.